how's it going? Right, you can't really answer me. Well, I was asking because I know that you've been having a hard time as of late. I'm not really able to grasp the full extent. Because even if I were able to hear you, it might not be something that you feel especially comfortable talking about or sharing. So, given that my knowledge is very limited of what the actual situation is, I can't pretend to know what you might be going through. So, I don't know really. I can't relate. I can't relate in any way that I won't be pretending. But what I can say is that I feel for you, and I know that everything is going to work out in one way or another, because that's just the type of person that you are. And that's what you deserve. Good things. And I'm giving you this message because while I can't help you directly, I can hope to provide a momentary distraction. Perhaps with one of my stories. Which are usually long and meandering, but perhaps that's just what you need. So, my story begins a couple of weeks ago when I saw an ad for a restaurant. I can't exactly tell you what the actual name of the item is from the menu because I've never eaten there and I wasn't really paying that much close attention, but I had looked in time to see a visual picture, representation, whatever it was, of this delightful, gorgeous taco that appeared to have been prepped by baking, because the cheese was melted. So, melted cheese in a taco might not seem noteworthy, but the taco was closed in such a way that it could have only been melted through baking. And it wasn't a quesadilla that had been heated in a pan or a skillet. It was crisp, crunchy taco, which I think they'd used a basting brush. Yeah, I think they dipped the brush into what I assume must be enchilada sauce, and then painted it ever so gently over the outside of the crispy taco, and then presented a small cup of dipping sauce with more enchilada sauce, and then a hand model was dipping the taco into the sauce, and then demonstrating the crunch with a nice bite. It was great. And mukbang stuff has never really been my bag, but this definitely made an impression. I'd never really thought of painting the outside of the taco and baking it, and then dipping it again for each bite. Sounded quite good. So, I set out on a grand experiment to try and replicate this enchanting hors d'oeuvre. So, you might now already be raising your eyebrow based off last time I attempted to make my infamous burrito bowl, but we don't need to restart the whole black beans versus kidney beans debate. That's fine. What I should have done was gone with some baked beans or some refried beans, refried beans, and avoided any contention whatsoever. Did you know that they traditionally use pinto beans for the refried ones? Probably did. I didn't. I suppose you could still use black beans, but though I don't know, any beans can be mashed up, and yeah, like lima beans, any legume, honestly. Well, actually, legume is the overarching term. Beans are more like they're in the pulses category. So all pulses are legumes, and all beans are pulses, which in turn are legumes, but not all legumes are beans, right? So peanuts are legumes, and that's a nut. So yeah. Speaking of nuts, you're listening to me. So anyway, yeah, I couldn't find any online recipes explaining all I'd seen in the 5 seconds of that advertisement. So I just decided to wing it. No particular direction. But I did have corn tortillas. So, armed with my trusty skillet, I fried a tortilla, vegetable oil, set of tongs, and then I picked it up and put it in the boiling oil. Folded it, flipped it, folded it, flipped it, until it was crispy and the mold was set. Once I'd done that, I placed it on a paper towel on a plate to make sure all the excess oil was absorbed, and then continued for as many as I wanted, really. If you wanted to recreate this, then keep going for as many as you need for as many people. But I'm just the one people person, that is. So it was a rather swift process. So once they were cool to the touch, I began filling the taco like I would as if I was about to eat some like whatever meat substitute you prefer, with Mexican spices. Usually I use black olives. Some people might think that it's not good, but you know, sometimes that's how you roll. You just gotta have your preferences. Then I grated up the cheddar cheese, diced the tomatoes, and minced the onions. I didn't put in any avocado because it was about to go in the oven and I didn't want it to wilt. And also, I'm a tad allergic. It just makes my mouth itch a little bit. It's not, you know, a death sentence, but yeah, it's probably best not to. But yeah, and I didn't put any salsa because the meat alternative was already coming with seasoning. Yeah, then I painted the outside with the enchilada sauce. So no es necesito. Necesito. So no necesito. Necesito. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. So, here I was, ready with my taco, all crisp, filled. And to be honest, I could have eaten it right then, but I did my best to go that extra mile. Had my oven at 220C. I had a glass baking dish, wiped it down so it was completely dry. Then took a spoon and dipped it into the jar of enchilada sauce. I was thinking about making some homemade stuff, but I was already being ambitious, so I allowed myself the luxury. Anyhow, I dip in a spoon, use the back of the spoon to wipe the residue onto the outside of the taco, I mean. And my plan was to lay it flat on its side so that one would get completely toasted, and then I would flip it after 15 minutes and then do the other side in the oven. So, yeah, swipe, hot in the oven, 15 minutes, ding. Open the oven and it looks fantastic. Sizzling, cheese is melted, the edges are crisping up, and I thought to myself, wow, I've actually done it. Behold this culinary masterpiece. My very own enchilada taco. Best of both worlds, right? Couldn't wait to taste it. So I put the spatula in. It was time to flip it. And okay, so you might have already surmised what the enchilada sauce was doing when pressed against the glass. So it's now lined with melted cheese, and had essentially spot welded the tortilla of the taco against the dish. And even with the aid of two spatulas trying to work in tandem, it would not move. And when it did, it just imploded like an accordion, and just became a lump of mush. It had appeared to have crisped up, but it didn't. And somehow from there, it got even soggier than if I'd left it out in the rain, you know? All the crispness that it had from frying, and the building up of the taco, all that structural integrity was gone. Just poof, gone, as if it had never been there to begin with. So, obviously, I was devastated. Put in so much work, and it had looked so good, but it was a complete disaster. I did still eat it, though, to be fair. I told myself that the flavor was still going to be good, and, it's a taco with enchilada sauce, after all. It tasted great. But yes, it did look awful. It looked... Okay, I'm going to try and give you a visualization of this. It looked like it had been taken up in a plane and dropped into the ocean, where it had remained until it was accidentally fished out by some innocent fisherman of some sort. So, yeah. But it tasted fantastic. So, you win some, you lose some. I was still quite upset later that night. Irrationally, so some might say. Because you know, I wanted it to go so well, and obviously I'd done something terribly wrong. It made this disaster, so I thought that I could go online, blue light be damned, and find a recipe for quote unquote enchilada tacos. So, you know, skeptical as I was, I thought this would be good. At least help me get into the vibe, the correct vibe that I'm looking for in order to have the instructions to go on and make my ideal meal, you know? So I'd had slightly different instructions, you know? Heat the vegetable oil, take your tortilla, drip it in the enchilada sauce, and already, you know, that was different. So I thought, surely that's the mistake I've made. The frying would seal in the flavors, and that would be that, you know, perfect. Then it said, build up the taco once it's cool to the touch. Place it in the oven, flat on its side. Flip it once during the bake time for the cheese to melt, and the tortilla to crisp, right? And it said it was going to seal shut like an envelope, which is exciting, right? Having a little cup of dipping sauce, and, you know, that's your enchilada taco. So dip the crisp, and then it's going to be edible. So I had the elements correct to begin with. I had a good instinct for that, but not the order of application. So, and it was a simple enough remedy, just thinking about it, making logical sense. So when taking a tortilla out of the package, it's usually a little moist. By frying it, the moisture is being pulled out. So you wouldn't think that you would immediately re-moisten it with the same tortilla with the sauce, but, you know, whatever. Eventually the moisture and the heat made it stick to the glass. But a crisp, dehydrated, albeit flavored taco shell should bake fine, right? So that was where I'd gone wrong. I'd messed up the thought process. So I bookmarked the recipe and called it a night, and thought that I'd have my triumph the next day. So, lunch today, I did do a test run of the new tortilla, keeping my expectations low, reasonably low. Obviously, I'm not going to have this newfound skill to make the picturesque taco as I saw in the advertisement, but you know, it was probably going to be a lot better than the mess the night before. So, boil the oil, dip the tortillas in the sauce. The website stipulated that it's one of the most important parts of the recipe that you put the enchilada sauce on both sides of the tortilla. So I did that. Then glaze the tortilla in the oil with the basting brush. Then load the tortilla into the boiling oil, just to the edge, to make it sizzle. When I tell you that a fireball exploded in my kitchen, I've dealt with cooking and fire and oil and water, and I've never seen anything like it. The mere touch of the tortilla moistened with the enchilada sauce went off like a powder keg. I think the flames touched the ceiling. So I raised the tongs out and pulled my arm out, and the tortilla just fully drops flat and submerges into the fiery oil, reigniting it again. And I don't know. I just reacted. I turned off the hob, completely covered the skillet with the lid, luckily extinguishing the flames, which is what you should do with an oil fire, so good job me. And then there wasn't really anything flammable nearby, so it didn't spread, but it was something. Yeah, definitely something. Yeah. I have a very sad picture of the tortilla from that experiment. And I will have you know that the tortilla was still not crisp. It had been through a literal ring of fire, and it still wasn't crisp. So, yeah, that was my adventure for the day. I don't know. I really wanted to improve on the taco, and I'd wanted the enchilada flavor so much, and I'm still, I don't know. I should have just drizzled the sauce instead, or maybe like a salsa, or like in addition. I don't know. I should have just left the taco as it was supposed to be. You know? But I suppose you need a little bit of experimentation in life. Get a little flash of excitement, you know? And I hope that for you too. Excitement. In the most positive way. And experimentation of the most wholesome sense that fills you with delight and wonder. And I hope this ridiculous rambling about my little cooking catastrophe gave you a moment of distraction and perhaps a bit of a laugh. I know things haven't been easy, but you'll get through this. All of it. Because you are a tough little tortilla.